This is Elevated Planet with Jole, Gabrielle, and John Drew. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for this live event. And today we have something special in store for you, which John is going to tell you more about.
Thank you, Jole. Hello, everybody. It's great to be here again, and I'm very excited today because today we have with us the great Gary Wimmer, and we went through his NDE about 3 weeks ago, actually, originally, and it was fascinating, and we had so many questions left over. So what better way to actually expand this out than to bring Gary in to the show? And he was very willing to do so, so I'm deeply grateful to him. So what I'm going to do now, without further ado, is bring Gary in. How are you doing, Gary?
Oh, compared to the world, I'm doing great, man. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly fine. Can you hear me okay?
I definitely can, man. Thank you. Thank you. So good to be with you, my man.
It's wonderful that you were able to join us, Gary. I'm really very appreciative because you know, I had so many questions, and I've got to say I'm loving the book. I've not finished it yet. I'm like about 3/4 of the way through it. At the moment, you're actually traveling through time and space and through the colors and everything like that. And I know through having seen the video already that what this is generally about. But actually, what I found really interesting about the book as well is the level of detail about the build up to it, you know, days 1 through to 8, about how everything unfolds, and feeling, you know, what must have been a depth of confusion that you went through.
Oh, I can't describe the depth of confusion and fear. Confusion, fear, and ecstasy all at once.
I know. It
was not real. I couldn't imagine what real life was like without this super psychic clairvoyance going on 24/7. But they said I'm the luckiest person on the planet because I got to see the other side of it too.
You did. And you know, it just shows how when the filters are removed like that, once you are open to everything, how overwhelming the whole thing can be, right? So anyway, that's my first thing to say for the day. For the curious, I definitely recommend this. You can get it through Amazon. That's where I got it from. Second in Eternity, because it goes into great detail. It's really well written, Gary. It's very readable. You know, it's and you've got loads of stuff in there which goes beyond the video as well. And also, I did get your book on lithomancy as well, which I can see right behind you right now as well. I haven't got round to reading that one yet, but I'm interested in, and as you know, I want to get a reading for Elevated Planet as well. And so maybe lithomancy might play a role in that as well. So tell you what, before we go any further, maybe just quickly explain to us what lithomancy is about, because most people won't be familiar with it.
Most people aren't. I wasn't. I started studying psychic ability way back in the 60s in college, late 60s. I had a couple astrologers say you have a lot of natural psychic ability according to your chart, and I do and did. And I moved to Austin in 1970, started giving readings with regular playing cards. Met this lady in 1980 named Alice Warhol, who did a reading this way. I had never seen it. I was amazed at it. I liked it because it was real simple and visual, you know, very visual, you know. It involves 16 stones. 10 of them are planet stones: Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. And 6 are personal stones: love, life, luck, commitment, timing, and place.
Right.
I used to do them in person. I don't do them anymore because of I'm disabled. I can't go to psychic fairs, hard to walk. So most of them I do over the phone. And people say drop. I charge these stones up. They say drop when it feels right. I drop them into this piece of leather, which is a real thin piece of leather. It makes a circle about 14 inches in diameter. I start reading the pattern here in the center, read it up to 12 o'clock, and then read around for 12 weeks, depending on where the stones land, how they touch, and so forth. The lady who taught me this, Alice Warhol, I helped her a lot. She had some car problems and family problems, and you know, I'd help her with her rent when I could. She was the most gifted psychic I've ever known. but she was kind of clumsy in life.
Right.
But I always asked her, she'd always say, Gary, thank you for helping me with my car. Yeah, no problem. All I want from you, Alice, is when you pass over, become my guide. She's the most gifted psychic I've ever met.
Right.
And she is. Every time
Wow.
I do reading, I put her Jupiter stone pointing toward me and I draw her in. And that ability to draw in higher mind, your guides and so forth, would have never occurred to me had I not gone through a near-death experience in 1977 that you're reading about. That is the most beautiful thing I've ever been through in my life. As I've told you and a lot of people, I feel like the luckiest person on the planet for having gone through this. And that was a challenge when I was going through it, but most things are in life when we go through something and then we come out the other side either dead or smarter. Right? You're dead, you're in heaven, no problem.
Right.
If you're smarter, great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the lithomancy, and that's how I learned it from this very gifted lady. Because of the near-death experience I had in 1977, I learned to see that you could see symbolism in anything. So while I was in Europe many times, I lived in Europe in the 90s as a musician. People would ask me for readings. I didn't always have my stones with me. So sometimes I would just give a reading on a, come up to my apartment. People would take earrings, trinkets, glass of water, a guitar string, and just lay stuff out on the table. And I would read that with the same conviction, I suppose you could say, that I read lithomancy. I could learn to interpret just about anything. Now, I never would have believed that or even thought that had I not gone through a solid week of nothing but seeing symbolism and how our higher mind, our subconscious, thankfully, there's a wall between our conscious and our subconscious that blocks us from going crazy with all the input that's available. Well, my wall disappeared. All the subconscious stuff that that I could feel was very consciously in my mind. So it wasn't a normal experience, but it was sure beautiful. And I'll be glad to tell you a little bit about that. If of course you kind of know already.
You please do carry on. Yeah.
Well, in 1968, I started getting interested in psychic ability, as I was saying. In 1977, during the early 70s, I was traveling with bands a lot. I wasn't a good singer, so I was always kind of frustrated being in crappy bands, to be honest with you. And I went through a fair amount of depression in my 70s, in the 70s, in my early 20s, because, I couldn't fit into a band. And I was an electrical engineer, got out of college in 1970, Vietnam. I did not want to serve in the military industrial complex at all. So I decided to be a musician, which I'd been doing since I was in high school. The reality of making a living with a crappy voice became very apparent. I went through a lot of frustration, and then out of the clear blue, in January, end of January 1977, all of a sudden things start feeling different. I start picking up things about people and thoughts. And over the next 24 hours, this amped up. As I wrote in the book, I came home that night and I was picking up thoughts about my roommates and about some neighbors that were with us. Tried to sleep, couldn't. Wake all night, seeing these premonitions, feelings. Got up in the morning. Walked into the living room and my roommate's reading the paper, and I see the headline through his eyes. It almost blew me over. He threw the paper down. I'm looking at it. It's an article on Jimmy Carter. Things start building up. I started picking this up over and over and over, and I couldn't cut it off, and I didn't know why. So I had to ride the pony. Couldn't get off the ride. We went to a bar that night, and I could imagine myself outside at a particular spot near the door where 30 minutes earlier we were walking in. I felt this strange presence at this spot. Now in the club, the band's too loud in the back. I come sit in the bar, it's quieter. Think about taking a walk outside. All of a sudden I'm outside in that spot. And these people walk right through me, and it freaked me out. I opened my eyes. I'm still in the bar stool. The door opened. And they all came through dressed as exactly as I'd seen them a second ago when I was supposedly outside, but still sitting in the bar. This phenomena went on and on and on. It got to the point there was no neutral. I was either picking up something about the universe, about what was going to happen, about the future, about the present, hearing on the radio, everything was symbolism, or because there was no neutral, I had to use this in some way, otherwise it would drive me crazy. So I'd look at a random stranger 6 blocks away and think, scratch your head and point up to that building, and they would do it. And I'd think, wow, whoa, 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 did I make that happen? Or did I happen to know that guy was about to do that and just pick it up? And to be honest with you, I couldn't tell the difference anymore between witness and creator. It got so bizarre. I had felt these monitors. They call themselves monitors, or I named them as such. But there was some kind of guardian angel, something that had an awareness of what was going on far beyond me, because I did not know. I had never felt this intense. Yeah, I've had a lot of psychic experiences, but not like this. It was vivid, alive, right before my eyes, every second of every day. There was no neutral, so like I said, I had to use this. We're sitting, my roommate, who's very concerned about me, we went to a restaurant, and he's saying, how are you doing now? What's going on? It was too hard to explain, so I said, well, I'll just give you an example. I pointed out 2 ladies sitting in the far end of the restaurant and asked him, look, see if you know either of those. He looked around and said, no. I said, okay, I'm going to have the brunette who was facing away from us. Neither of them even looked at us. I said, I'm going to have the brunette write me a letter. What? I'm going to have her write me a letter. Completely harmless. Again, there was no neutral. I couldn't turn off this omnipresent psychic ability. So he's eating dinner, and I'm sitting there eating dinner, but thinking in terms of follow this little laser light, this thought over to the guy in this blue shirt and write me a letter, completely harmless. 10 minutes later, first lady walked by our table, then the brunette, and she threw down a napkin on the table, and in big bold letters she'd written, why are you doing this to me? That freaked me out. Man, I wanted to go catch up with her and say, I'm sorry, what did you pick up? But it was too baffling. Both my roommate and I are just going. Therefore, I realized I'm screwing a lot of people's lives. Or I could be. I was affecting a lot of people, not really in an endangering way, but certainly unusual and certainly unpredictable. But again, there was no off button. There's no neutral.
No, and at the same time, you kind of realized at that point you had to be careful in what you were thinking and how you were projecting and what you were projecting, right?
Very careful. I thought, man, if every little thought can manifest, geez, what if I think nuclear war? What if I think car wreck? Yeah. I remember one time pacing down the street, and I had some phlegm. I coughed the phlegm out on the sidewalk. It turned into the blob. It covered the whole universe, and then it collapsed back to that little spot. The symbolism was extremely clear. Everything magnifies across the whole universe. There's nothing that ain't accorded or accounted for.
Yeah.
So anyway, at this point in time, I'm getting terrified. I'd gone through a week of this. I couldn't take it anymore. I had no idea why or what, if I could cut it off. But I did feel that I had felt these monitors, these guardian angels, something knew what was going on more than I did. And so I'm pacing down Guadalupe Street. I think I'm going over to my girlfriend's house, about 8 miles away. I'm walking, my car's broke. And the closer, when I got on Guadalupe Street in Austin, Texas, across from UT, I'm pacing, I'm scared, I'm crying, I'm screaming. People in the street are just looking at me like, wow, what's with this guy? I did not care. I was needing help. I couldn't take it anymore. I was begging God to help me. And all of a sudden, like that, this fear disappeared completely. And I went, what the? I look up, and there's this huge light above me. And I remember my first thought was, it's 6 feet above my head. If I had a ladder, I could touch it. It's not 4 feet, it's not 12 feet, it's 6 feet or a specific amount.
Yeah.
Huge light. I looked around, all these people who'd been staring at me, they didn't look up. They didn't notice it. How do you miss this? It's all around you like a big tube of light. I don't care. I looked back up at it, and this time it turned into a crystal table about that thick. Not that thick, not that thick, crystal. And the light was coming down from the palms of these 7 white-robed beings. I couldn't quite see their faces, as if their faces didn't matter.
Mhm.
It was only their presence. And I felt this relief of fear, incredible. And they said, "Do you trust us?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely, but I don't understand that." "Shh, do you trust us?" They spoke in one voice, like James Earl Jones, is big, deep, resonate. And I felt so comfortable and protected, but I was curious, what's going on? What's going on? Shh. Long story short, within a couple seconds, I was, as a pedestrian, hit head on by a speeding car. I was outside my body, watching my body get tumbled over the car with a certain feeling of like indifference, like, oh, that's just what happens on Earth. And then in no time, the whole Earth turned into a little dot, and I'm expanding outwards in all directions like a balloon, not like an arrow. Moon, sun, all the planets in our solar system go within me, then the whole galaxy, then the whole universe. I had no idea who I was at this point. In fact, soon after I left my body, I had no idea who I was. It was just pure sensation, but beautiful and fear and endless, it felt like. I went through this, what I call the colors at the edge of the universe, that's some sort of level of consciousness that allows us to, through our senses, be able to understand our own connection to infinite mind. Then I went beyond that, and there was a sky full of infinite universes. No, I just came out of that one. But there's infinite universes, and that was kind of mystifying. Then they kind of rolled up into a big tunnel of light, and that's a really beautiful description, because a lot of people have that experience, and it does feel like a big, long tunnel of light. The silver clouds going around. No idea who I am, but it's a beautiful sensation, and I'm being shot through there kind of like a clown at a circus or something, I guess. But it was fun, and it was beautiful, and it was enlightening, and it was fearless. No idea of me. And then I get into this sky blue infinite void. It's sky blue, and it's infinite mind, and I know it immediately because I'm part of it. I'm not separate observer. I'm home. This is infinite. And the interesting thing is, which most people who've had near-death experiences all agree on, is you get this sense of infinite love that's incomprehensible in a human body and a human brain. How infinite love turned into the infinite creativity, unbiased infinite creativity. That's the key word, unbiased. It has no bias. It's not Christian, Muslim, here, now, then. It's infinite possibilities. We are biased humans, you know.
Yes.
So I was just in awe of this, and it felt like it went on for eternity. That's why I named the book A Second in Eternity, because it felt like I was there for eternity, even though I didn't know it was me. All of a sudden, I felt like I was witnessing it instead of being at one with it, and I was kind of being pulled away by a term I use in the book I call spiritual gravity. I have no idea where I was being pulled to, but I was leaving heaven. And I came back through this tunnel of light and came back into this universe and collapsed back into time and space. And closer that I got to Earth, the more I felt like I had some relationship with this earthly plane. And then right before I jumped back in my body, I saw 3 series of pictures, which I kind of described in the book. The first was the turmoil and conflict, and this is 77. I saw we'd be going through for the next 100 years, which we're going through now.
Right.
It's Pluto. It's us having to see every hole in the boat, every flaw in our system, everything is broken, so we can fix it. You can't fix it if you don't know it's broken. The other series of pictures were the other side of this world transformation, where we're in the age of Aquarius, and there's space and technology and the sea, and I mean, I don't know if there's 1 million people left or 20 billion. I don't know, because there's so many different ways this could work out. But that's the direction we're headed. third series of pictures was this guy playing music who was a psychic. I didn't know it was me. It was playing all over in Europe, playing piano. Hell, I didn't hardly play piano then. And then I saw my body and jumped back in it. I just been to heaven. I was elated. I never felt so. Now, it was eerie, but I felt empowered and beautiful. And I just jumped up to my feet, and this driver who's hanging over me, trying to hold me down, go, man, you're hurt. I'm not hurt at all. Started talking to these onlookers, witnesses. Did y'all see this? Of course, they thought I was crazy. I looked crazy. 5 seconds earlier, they saw me talking to something wasn't there, and then I was hit by a car, and then I'm jump up back to my feet as soon as people rush in to help me, and like nothing happened. To me, it didn't. I felt no pain, didn't get a scratch. So I was too baffling. I thought, I'm just going to go home. I can't deal with this. Nobody's hurt. Car's half total, but I'll deal with that later.
And that was a point, actually. Sorry, Gary, but that was a point I wanted to make, actually, because when I read about the impact that the car had, this was not just a graze. This was actually an impact that was hard, right? Right in the front of the car, threw up over onto the top, like against the windscreen, back onto the trunk, and then deposited back onto the road, rolling over. This was big. This was the kind of thing, landing on your head on the way down as well. So, like, you would look at that as an onlooker and just assume instantly that person is dead or it's a miracle.
I kind of thought that when I saw my body getting tumbled back and I was moving away from it with a certain period of certain feeling of let's just look, life on Earth. Maybe I did die. I didn't care. It was like, fine, hell, I'm going somewhere that's beautiful.
Right.
This voyage is too beautiful to worry about my body. So when I came back in and jumped to it was so startling. I felt like I found myself. There I am. I jumped back in and everybody's freaked out. Well, I'm pretty freaked out too, but I'm not hurt. I don't feel any pain, no blood, no nothing. So I'm just going to go home. And they keep saying, no. I heard ambulances. It's where the police come here. I thought, yeah, I'll just explain it all to them and go home. Good luck. They came and first of all, they're looking all around for a body. And I raised my hand and said, I'm the guy you're looking for. And because, they're expecting some bloody body in the street. And I'm over there talking to all these people. And I needless to say, they're kind of getting a big wide circle around me because they don't know what's going on. And I could understand that. But so the cops came up, ambulance rushed up to me, tried to put me on. Hey, I'm not hurt. I don't feel a thing. What? How? How are you even standing? Well, just on your feet like you. Well, what happened? Every time I try to explain why I didn't get hurt, which only happened seconds ago, of course they couldn't understand my story. Didn't want to hear it. It sounded crazy. I looked around and thought, you know what? I wouldn't have believed me either.
Right.
No problem. Hell yeah. Guys, crazy. Well, they wouldn't let me just walk home. They took me to the hospital, x-rayed me, not a scratch. They put one little Band-Aid on my head, I think, just to make it look like I'd got something, but I didn't get a scratch. Didn't get hurt, didn't feel it. They're all asking me what happened. And boy, they got a complete story in 15 seconds or less. I can talk. I got a lot of energy and I could definitely was amped up at that time. A couple minutes later, they rolled me over the side of the emergency room and some guy came walking in. I immediately knew his name. I'd seen a premonition about him. In fact, I'd seen premonitions about this whole episode before it happened. I just couldn't put all these pictures together. It was so fast and everything's happening so insanely unorthodox. I couldn't.
Right.
I was just trying to second by second manage. So anyway, they took me to the hospital, couldn't keep me there. The psychiatrist walked up, I knew his name, knew all about his family. He couldn't believe this. He said, we can't just let you go home because of your story. I can understand. I said, we're gonna have to put you in a psychiatric hospital for evaluation. I can understand that too. I'd probably do that too if I was you guys. So they put me in a psychiatric hospital, and Within a day or two, I was everybody's best friend. I was playing guitar, and I'm a real friendly guy. I'm an entertainer. Obviously no harm to myself or anybody else. After 10 days, they bring me before a whole board of psychiatrists, and I told them, I ain't changing my story. Here's what happened. You guys believe it or not, but you're psychiatrists. And you're the guys who're supposed to know the connection between mind and whatever. I'm here as living proof that that's an infinite connection, and you ought to start studying it, because psychic ability and psychic states and mental states and emotions, they're all kind of connected.
Yeah.
They're a little bit out of the normal way of thinking, and they're not out of the way that life is. They're away from people who don't understand that life works that way. So finally, they let me out of the psychiatric hospital. I had a little reboot a couple months later. It took about 6 months or a year for this to mellow out.
Okay.
I was fragile, startled. I was still feeling, weeks after this, still feeling premonitions about stuff. I kind of wondered how long it would last. It tapered off, but it took a couple months. But one thing I was constantly curious about is, why me?
Right.
Why did I have this experience? What did I possibly do to deserve such a beautiful voyage into infinite mind and back, man? I asked. 8 months later or so, my guides, they let me ask for a while. They let me dig. They wanted me to search in my soul, see if I could figure it out, but I couldn't. And then finally, 8 months later, I didn't see them this time. They kind of were in my front yard, and they shot this thought into my head that rolled off like screen credits on a Superman movie. And the same warm, deep unison voice was repeating the same message that I was seeing on these screen credits. And it was basically, you got this experience because you were always asking. You wanted to know, you always studied religion, you're a Catholic, you wanted to know God, you wanted to know truth, you wouldn't buy the church, you kept digging. Well, you could handle the truth, and like Jack Nicholson, you could handle the truth. We took you, and we brought you back. And yeah, it'd be pretty startling. So we used the car scene as a way to get you out of your body. And the fact that when you go back, you're going to need a lot of what I call grounding agents, which is what they confirmed. They concerned, said, yes, you need that, because you need to be taken care of. You need to be held back so you don't fly out there again, because it's so beautiful. Our souls kind of want to go out there,
Right.
but we got to serve our time here too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the story in a nutshell. It profoundly affected me. And since 1977, I've seen all these signs, whether it's COVID-19 or 9/11. I was in Europe playing on a cruise ship when 9/11 happened. A guy from Sweden said, man, I think y'all got hit by a terrorist attack. I ran down to the crew room, saw on the TV there the second plane go through, looked around. These people for the DFDS cruise ship were all around me in blue uniforms. I'd seen that same picture in 1977 with that TV and that plane. I couldn't believe it. I saw stuff that I couldn't believe in 77. One thing that unfortunately we see a lot in the States now is these mass murders, because pumped up, frustrated 22-year-old men are walking around with AK-47s. I couldn't believe in 77 when I saw these pictures of these random murders at a Walmart by a pissed off guy.
Yeah.
Gee, I mean, pissed off guys are one thing, but with AK-47s, no, not a good mixture. I couldn't believe they would be actually legal. So there's so much, but we're going through the period of transformation, and I suggest everybody be cool, be calm. We're going through this so we can see what we need to fix as a world community and as individuals, everywhere, every level, all the way down, because we got to change our trajectory. I've always had a hard time with that word. Or we're going to end up all dead and gone.
Right. Yeah.
global warming, fuse, fighting, you know. So this is a major transformation period now in the next 50, 100 years on this planet for all of humankind. I got to see the good side of it. We're going through the tough side of it. I suggest everybody don't drive yourself crazy over what you can't change, because you can't change a lot of stuff. You can't change the past. You can't change the trajectory.
Very good.
Okay, thank you, man. Get an A in that. There's a lot of things we can't change. Can't change the past or the people, blah, 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 your genes, but we can always change the way we look at anything. And perspective and intentions. The way you look at things right here, right now, means how you're going to make the next decision in your life, empowered or doubtful or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that's, yeah, that's very, it's very, this, to me, this is very important. I love the fact, you know, you're talking about the age of Aquarius that we're going into now, but also like the age of the golden race. The fact that we're going to this new earth kind of situation, but to do this, we have to kind of have this time where we are, this is demonstrated to us just how it's the separation between the dark and the light to an extent. I hear that a lot because, you know, the dark gets darker, the light gets lighter, and you have a choice of direction. Does that sound right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
We do have choice. The biggest gift ever given to humankind is free will, because we can't change all our circumstances and our birth and our genes and getting here and growing older and finally developing and learning about yourself and all that. No two people are the same. No two places in time and space are the same. But the other side, we're all from one infinite mind. We're all from the same pool. Humanity, life, every quirk, every atom is nothing more than infinite mind seeing itself in infinite ways. And so if we kind of look at it from that perspective, we're a part of infinite mind doing its little part. We can learn to get over fear and doubt and frustration over what we can't change. But it's just like learning golf or piano. It's a practice. You make a decision, you practice.
Yeah.
Whether it's becoming fearless or learn how to play golf, you know. And to accomplish anything in life, we have to decide to do it and follow through, at least some things.
It's very interesting. I mean, and you know, this kind of, if you think about like the 12 universal laws, the first law is the law of divine oneness, right? Everything is connected. And I hear that so much from you. I read it in your books. It's just kind of everything is connected. This is this web. And as I say, we all came from the same source. We all ultimately go back to the same source. And the second law is the law of vibration, which is everything has a unique vibration. So each of us is unique because we are vibrating at a fractionally different frequency to each other. And we have a different life path. We have different intentions. We have this play to play out on Earth. And here's one of the things that what you said just resonated with me, because I think one of the things that we're encouraged to do in the westernized world as we have it today is to get bogged down in things like the news media, social media, and all the rest. And yet so much of it is negative. So much of it is trying to put us into fear. So much of it is trying to keep us small. Whereas in reality, we are massive. And you have to go within and understand who you are and actually focus on being the best you that you can be, right? And then work out what your path is. I mean, you know, I totally get what you say.
All the knowledge, all the power, all the answers are inside. That's how we get to them, you know. Everything can be known. And I would never believe that or even thought about that had I not seen infinite mind for eternity in less than 2 seconds of Earth time. You know, I mean, that's the difference in realities, you know. This is sequential, slow, space, time, karmic, action, reaction, 2 + 2 = 4. The other side doesn't work quite so linearly.
Right. Yes. Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? Because it's all this the time and space and all this kind of thing. This is a construct for humans, for the physicality of the world that we live in, to kind of make sense of it. But outside of this physical world, things are very different. That's how I understand it.
I'm an electrical engineer. I'm always fascinated with quantum physics, quantum mechanics. Everything is interrelated. Cause and effect at a distance, it's because we all started when one little infinitely small, infinitely powerful thing, the Big Bang, and everything was connected then, is connected then. And as science now starts realizing there's particles on the other side of the universe, and that side of the universe that are still one's plus, that one's going to be minus. They interrelate. How? Faster than time and space. Because the whole fabric of creation, in my opinion, is within, below, or deeper than the quantum physics world. And now even scientists are starting to go, what makes a quantum subatomic particle even exist? They're having to deal with concepts like consciousness, and that doesn't fit into equations of physics, but at some point they're stumped because everything is interconnected. They prove it, they see it, they make it. Hell, GPS wouldn't work if we didn't know that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think science is learning more and more about, I believe the interface is the quantum world. And I think science is kind of leading it from one direction, spirituality from another. And the things that are going on in the world are sort of shaking people up to go, hey, find another way to look at it. Find your way, find your path, find your resonance.
Yes. I mean, quite often it takes a crisis in order to force people outside the comfort zone and to rethink things, and I think that's kind of what we're seeing to a degree. And I do think it'll get worse before it gets better. But again, it's how you choose to respond to the external influences, right? So
that's it. That's where you got power. You can't change all that stuff, but you can change the way you look at it. And that is power.
Power of thought, the power of thought, right? That to me is kind of, it has its own energy. Thought is like a living thing. It's and we don't think of it like this.
It's a thing. It's a thing. It can manifest. You better believe it can manifest, Yes. Look at group mind. You get thousands of people believing the earth is square, or Nazism, or Trump is good, or whatever. You get group mind can make you think the earth is square.
Right. And it's interesting because
if we didn't have periods when people thought the earth is square, you wouldn't have people come along and go, nope, you're wrong, it's round. So it's always a search for the truth.
Well, Jole and I were talking a little bit earlier, actually, because there's a piece that's going into the newsletter, which is about Atlantis, and talking about how back in the ancient times they would use the power of group mind in order to achieve things we would regard as impossible and miracles. But they understood things that we are yet to understand in this latest civilization. Not even that, even going back to Lemuria before that. So that's kind of a part of what we've been talking about this afternoon, in this part of what is going out in the newsletter. And I'm interested you mentioned Pluto, because I was just watching an astrology YouTube the other day from a lady called Pam Gregory, who's excellent. And she was talking about Pluto, and it's kind of the war energy kind of thing. Yeah, I'm no expert on astrology at all, but I just picked up on that as soon as you said it. I thought, yes, that's it. I remember that's figuring. It's figuring for a long time.
Yeah, and it's Pluto's the deep subconscious. It's extremes, but when you go from one extreme to the next, it can also be transformation, revolution, things that affect generations. That's why Pluto's in someone's chart for 35 years or something. I forgot. It affects generations. But we are going through a period right now of extremes, and it's not without meaning. It's so we can see what we need to do to fix, because we can't fix the whole world, but we can fix our part of it. We're doing our job.
That's right. That's it. I completely agree with you. And I think it's very reassuring when you stop and think, however bad things get, everything is as it should be, as it's supposed to be. And if you can kind of hang on to that, because the news, there's a lot of deep, bad stuff on the news. So therefore, it's very easy to get sucked into it and to but yeah, we have the ability to react in a way which is going to be positive for us, even when the external circumstances may be negative. So fascinating. Now, I've got so many questions to ask you. I have nowhere like the time to actually ask. So I'm going to have to, because what I want to do, I want to hand over to Jole as well, because Jole's got a couple of questions that she wants to for you. But one thing that I will do is I'm also going to put details of your website and things like this on the feed that goes out, so people will be able to see, because I know that you do readings and things for people, because I'm on the list somewhere for Elevated Planet, and I'm very excited about that. But other than that, I am going to hand you over to Jole, who's then ultimately going to go into her guided meditation when she's ready as well. But Gary, from my point of view, I just want to say thank you. I am really, really grateful for you being here. It's
beautiful to both y'all.
I could make this into a series which is going to last several years if I started going through this question. So I better shut up for now. Thanks, Gary. I'll hand you over to Jole now.
You too, John. Thank you, my man.
Hi, Gary. Thank you so
Hi,
much for joining us and allowing for me to ask these questions. And what's so interesting to me is that you talk about the psychic energy, which a lot of us, I mean, we all have it, right? But your experience was amazing. And how can you help us or tell us how you allowed for that rubber to meet the road? Meaning those psychic messages and those things that came in, such as you spoke about the piano, right? So when you speak about 12 hours a day, what does that look like, bringing that energy in and then being able to have mastery over something? How did you?
Well, first of all, we accomplish things in life by deciding to do them and practicing, and
right.
At least those two. I knew as a teenager that I was always picking up things intuitively, psychically, spiritually. Went through college reading about this, and I started realizing that I have more of it. I got 6 brothers, none of them are interested in this except me, so yeah, the more I started realizing that it's a learnable skill like anything, I suggest people nowadays, first of all, believe in your power, believe in your ability to grow, learn techniques. If you want to learn to play music, listen to people who played music, and they know more about how chords fit together than you do if you don't know anything about it. There's methods, there's techniques, there's people who crossed that road before. And one of the strongest methods ever is meditation. Turning your mind off, giving yourself 2 minutes a day of pure meditation without your mind thinking. Our minds are very helpful, but so is a dishwasher. You don't drag it in your bedroom and crank it on at night when you're trying to sleep.
Right.
So meditation is one of the #1 keys to get yourself, your resonance, your frequency, your vibration, your thought pattern into a receptive space. Because we have to choose to be receptive if we want to receive something. And we can choose at every moment in life to heed the call, because life and our higher mind are always tapping us on the shoulder, especially when we go through challenging times, saying, hey, do you want some insight? But we get to choose whether to go yes or to ignore it. Choice, and if we ignore it, sometime later we'll be confronted with the same thing again. And because we came here to learn some things, and we can delay them, we can ignore them, we can change our minds, but the path, we're going to meet our path one way or another. And so we not only can meet our path, we can make our path better. We can make our path more enlightened, more magical. I started asking my guides in 1977 on a practical level, because I was a musician and I had, like I said, not a good voice, and I was having trouble staying employed. And I asked my guide to help me find gigs, and they did. And then I started asking my guide to help me learn to play the piano. I needed to learn another instrument. Finally, I got some gigs in some local country bands in Texas that I'd never played that much country music, but the big dance halls in those days in 1980, woo, started making a lot of money. I started teaching myself piano at 33. Sitting down learning the scale. By 36, I talked my way into a piano bar. Still a crappy singer, not that good of a player, but I can talk and I can entertain people. I learned to be a good entertainer. It's all about what you can do, not about what you can't say. Hell, I'd like to wake up and sing like Freddie Mercury. It ain't going to happen. I can ask the universe forever, but it ain't going to happen. But I did wake up and learn how to be comfortable with what I am and who I am, and accept the fact that, okay, I ain't going to get a CD deal. I knew that. You know, I listen to music. I know how unique you got to be, the right hair, the right song, or, most people are working musicians, but at least I got to make a living playing music and traveling all over. We can all reach our dreams in a relative way. And the more we allow our own minds and our own hearts, our own souls to interpret our essence, our being as good, our path as being bright, being evolving, learning, then we're expanding. If we choose all the opposite, we're contracting and putting ourselves in cement. It's a choice. It's an absolute choice. Every second is a choice. I have learned through going through so much severe depression, and believe me, I've been there. I've learned to look at every moment in my life, everything I go through, have gone through, am going through, or will go through, as how much it can teach me, show me, liberate me, enlighten me. Why not? It's already obvious that it can throw me off course and hurt me and, lose money or whatever. That's a given. It could screw you up, but why go up to the plate with that kind of bat? If you're going to go up to play with a bat, it's how I'm going to knock the damn ball out of the park with who I am and what I got. Attitude, perspective, intentions, number one. We can change that, and that changes the reality.
So the work is attitude, perspective, and intention. So really approaching this life like you have something to offer, but even receiving, having that perspective of being curious about life instead of judgmental and labeling, right? And having that loving, I guess, intention to spread joy. I mean, but when you think about it, you spoke about being depressed and anxious. There's a lot of us out here that feel like they're in the hamster wheel of depression and anxiety. What could you tell them as to how to release that, like a tangible way to release that? We talk about these concepts, these very big concepts, perspective, intention. But what does it look like to really do it on a daily basis?
It looks like this. If you want to learn to play the piano, you have to decide to do it, and then you got to practice, because that's the only way you're going to get. You can dream forever about being a golfer or piano player. Where the rubber meets the road, it's practice. Yeah, in any second in time, we can't change so much stuff we can't change, but our intentions and our perspective and our attitudes, they go throughout the universe. You can fool a whole world with your intentions, but you can't fool your universe. You can't fool your higher mind.
But you noticed a time when you were depressed and anxious that it was very difficult to even get to the decision and the practice. So let's deal with the space in between the depression and anxiety and the decision and the practice. That is a wide space right there.
Well, first of all,
for some.
Sure. People go through depression. I mean, look at the anxiety and the frustration of the planet. Now more than ever do we need to tap into our higher mind, our spirituality. And it is a practice and a technique. And yes, it may sound abstract on one hand, but it brings practical results. If you see yourself getting up to the plate in a baseball game, you bring a big bat and a big attitude, knowing that the pitcher can throw the ball anywhere he wants. All you can do is have a big bat and a big attitude. That's perspective and attitude. You can't make him throw the ball. You can't make a lot of things in life work the way you want. You can make yourself work the way you want, and it does take time. But these abstract philosophies of intention and perspectives are not really abstract. They're starting points. They're practical decisions. If you keep playing the same record over and over and over in your head, guess what? It's going to keep playing until you take it off. If you go to tomorrow and you feel all this frustration and skeletons from yesterday and fears and doubts, the neighbors didn't bring them, and we don't have to keep bringing them.
Correct.
When you learn to drive, you bump into the curb, right? You don't have to keep doing it. When you learn to play a musical instrument, you hit bad notes because you're learning. You don't have to keep hitting bad notes. When you first play baseball or golf, you miss the ball. You don't have to keep missing it. So yes, on a practical level, intentions, attitudes, and perspective bring about practical results. Different ones depending on where your intentions are at. And the higher you raise your intentions on the good side, best for all, compassionate, wise, forgiving, loving, erasing the blackboard, seeing the good. It doesn't make you naive and stupid because you see the good. It's just like it doesn't make you naive and stupid if you're driving down the road and there's a bunch of damn potholes. Being smart means you steer around them. Doesn't mean they ain't there. It just means you're going to be intentions and attitudes. So on a very practical level, love yourself.
Yes.
Lighten up. Love yourself. Everybody's got pimple and BO. Okay, let's get over it. We're all human.
Yeah.
Love you.
Correct.
Forgive
And
yourself.
I think the blocks come in when we're disconnected from the different parts of ourselves. That's, I think, a part of what you went through was that all of you began to connect and interconnect with each other to where you had this incredible experience of expansiveness. So maybe through our meditation, what we can do is we can get people to connect, all parts of them to connect, because it seems as if we are separated from even different parts of ourselves, different aspects of our emotions, our minds, our bodies, which then create this separation between each other. So maybe we can begin, with removing any blocks to know what our true perspective, intention, and attitude is, because oftentimes we've been fed, right? We don't know the difference between where we end and begin and another person ends and begin. And through your experience, that became crystal clear, although you're expanding and then you came back down to who and what you were, but you understood that connection.
But I came back with an awareness, very grateful for it, of true power. Now I can barely walk. I've got all kinds of degenerative disc disease and so forth. I can't sing that well. I managed to make a living. I'm not saying my life's been one Grammy Award after the next, because it hadn't. But we can all make our lives work by intentions and attitudes and changing our perspective. We don't have to do the same disdain for our lives or frustration or locked in the same mental attitude we were yesterday. We can stay there, but we don't have to. It's choice. It's choice. And that's the first step toward practical realization of a better life. It's deciding you're going to go there. The first step toward learning to play the piano, decide you're going to do it. And the second step is go do it. Because if you don't go do it, the thought
so it's like you understood the power that you possess and you were able to tap into that. And you're saying that, right, that everyone possesses. So that's a great place to begin. Maybe we can help give people their power back in terms of empower your intention, empower your perspective, empower your attitude in a very original way so that you can then fuel your purpose.
These are challenging times, no doubt about it. And again, we can't change the fact that there's 8 billion of us on this planet. It's a challenging time, but we don't have to live in fear and doubt. We do kind of like we live in stupidity until we learn something. We live in unable to walk until we learn to walk, But I'm a firm believer, if you never went through fear, you'd never become fearless. Never even get on that path. If you never were confused or thrown a curved ball, you'd never learn anything. Most of the stuff we learn in life is by, now I got to deal with this, And it's because the only way life has to show us what we need to learn next is sometimes through experiences and curveballs and surprises. And again, we get to choose whether to heed the call and grow and evolve, or drink a beer and go to the beach and blow it off.
Yeah.
Free
Both
will.
of them are there. All right. Well, I'd love to get started with this
Right.
meditation. And
So, Jole, let me, I'm going to, right, Gary, just first of all, just say thank you very much. So
yes, thank you so much, Gary.
brilliant.
My pleasure.
Love it. Love it. And so grateful for you being here. And now we're going to switch it over to Jole.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for today's meditation. And we want to give a special shout out to Gary Wimmer for all his wonderful nuggets of wisdom and the treasures and blessings he laid upon us today. So as always, please take a deep breath in, put your feet flat on the floor, your palms face up, close your eyes. And for those of you that are laying down, we ask you to please keep your feet flat on the floor for the beginning part of the meditation. Take another deep breath in and exhale. Bring your awareness to your heart, your chest cavity. And from this space, I want you to breathe and command your heartbeat to sync up with your breath. You have an aura layer, which we know as your personal space. Pull that in to be 18 inches around you. It's yours, just command it to be so. Aura layer, I'd like to sit in the center of you with you 18 inches in front and back, to the right and to the left, and above and below me. Now you're going to call your higher self back above you. We all have a higher self and a connection to the divine. This is how we receive the messages, the intuition. We also have a grounding cord, which we are going to create from the heart, from a place of love, which is then going to travel down through our bodies, right there, parallel to the spine, as it moves down painlessly through our bodies and through what we are sitting or laying on. And it moves through the crust of the earth. It begins to move very quickly at the speed of light as it moves through the lithosphere, the asthenosphere, and we root ourselves into Mother Earth, receiving all of the nurturing and the positive and powerful messages she has for us in this reality. Root ourselves, and this grounding cord is 6 inches in diameter. And we call in golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles to clean off anybody else's energy, anything we're ready to let go of, anything we are ready to release. These golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles blanket the inside and the outside of our grounding cord, bringing us into the present moment and allowing us to clean off our perspectives, intentions, bad attitudes, negativity we may be feeling about our station in life. Removing all of this victim programming, this lack and limitation, this deprivation, this disease and illness we may have created from the lack of love that we feel for ourselves and our environment. Clean this off. Visualize, create, and imagine these beautiful golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles, scrubbing off all of the negativity. Take a deep breath in, exhale gently. And I remind you, your heartbeat is synced up with your breath. Your higher self sits above you. Your aura layer is 1.5 feet around you. You sit directly in the center. And you are grounded and rooted into Mother Earth from a place of love, with a 6 inches in diameter grounding cord being cleaned off by the loving life force energy of infinite mind, creator of all that is. And now I would like for you to please place a golden sun above your head, filling it up with unconditional love. And as you open your crown, like you would the lens of a camera, and you call in this golden sun as it begins to fill up your head, focuses itself down, comes into that heart, expands, and then it melts down, cascades down that grounding cord as those golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles fall away into Mother Earth, turning into positive creative life force energy for anyone to use as that unconditional love cascades down behind it. Moving you into the present moment, which we know is the point of power. We cannot control the past or the future, but what we can do is make choices that empower us in this moment. As you take a deep breath in and exhale, bringing your awareness back into that heart chakra, and now turning, visualizing, creating, and imagining all those blood cells that are pumping throughout your body, turning into heart shapes. As you move this energy throughout your body, you allow for your heart to pump this love into each organ and system in your body, leaving no stone unturned, moving out disease and illness with it. As you bring your awareness to the center of your head, and here what we are going to do is work to turn those negative thoughts and intentions, those negative attitudes and perspectives into something that support us, into positivity, so that we can decide what we want to do, how we want to hook into that free will, and create a purpose and a practice around it, which allows us to empower our attitude, our intentions, and our perspectives so that we can connect positively, removing and resolving all the blocks within us that keep us separated from ourself, those deep parts of ourselves that can heal us and expand us and connect us with our environment and those around us. So allow for this energy of unconditional love to pulsate throughout your body as you work in the center of your head, removing and resolving, making the decision, I remove depression, send it down that grounding cord. I remove anxiety. I choose to have positive energy. I choose to accept the power that is there for me. I receive the unconditional love, the psychic energy, the positive intention, the positive perspective, and I take on a positive attitude, which allows for me to engage my psychic energy in order to practice manifesting my purpose, whatever that may be for you, in an open channel of unconditional love. So hold the space and see yourself in this new energy. As you take a deep breath in, exhale, I'm going to gently remind you that you are grounded and rooted into Mother Earth with a grounding cord from a heart-centered space connected to that chest cavity, 6 inches in diameter, rooted and grounded. Your aura layer is 1.5 feet around you. Your higher self is above you. And that astral body is snapped in as well. As you sit in the center of your head, removing and resolving any depression, anxiety, any fear, as you receive that unconditional love, as you allow for that love to pulsate throughout your body, filling you up, connecting you with all of the places and spaces that you may be refusing to go, that have that wisdom and knowledge to open you up and expand you from a loving space so that you can connect not only with your personal power to receive those psychic messages and that intuition, but so that you can connect with others as well in order for us to elevate the planet. Simultaneously, while gaining mastery over ourselves, letting go of any labels and any judgments, getting curious about our purpose and the plan that we have in this incarnation from a place of love. So just breathe, hold the space, clear your mind, and decide today to let go of the anxiety and the depression and allow for that love to move throughout your body and empower you with a purpose to connect your intuition and your action from a place of power. Just let it flow. Know that your higher self is taking all of this in. It knows what to do. Trust yourself. As Mr. Wimmer teaches us, listen to yourself, trust yourself, and open up the space for you to embrace your power. Take a deep breath in, exhale, and see the picture of your purpose and that loving manifestation of divine energy pouring forth from you out into the world. Grab hold of your free will. Grab hold of the trust that you have for the divine energy and step into your power and your purpose. Take a deep breath in, exhale. And I'd like for you to close your crown chakra. Bring your awareness back into your heart space and that place of love. Take a deep breath in, exhale. And when you are ready, you can open your eyes. All right. That was just a brief meditation, John, since I know that we took a long time in the interview. I mean, it was really a standalone in and of itself, but I really thank you for the opportunity to just take some of the nuggets he gave us and just try to expand on them from a heart-centered space. So I know it may have been all over the place, but just know your higher self got this, and you can turn it into some type of practice, and please begin to make it your own.
Jole, thank you. And thank you. Thank you to our community for tuning in today. And on that note, we shall say farewell for this week and be back again, ready for action next Sunday. Take care. Bye all.
All the love.